Welcome back, everybody. We are hitting you with a special edition of the Yankee and the Brit midseason moves. So far, we're creeping up on the trade deadline, and Ian Rappaport always says, calm down, guys. We're not going to see a lot of moves. 4 days ago, maybe a week ago, Ian Rappaport said, I don't know. This might be the year we see a lot of moves.
Yeah.
And things have been moving in that direction. And it's kind of interesting to see. And let's just start with the guy who came out and I think did a great job in his first debut with a new team. And I think they should actually fed him the ball more in their loss. Was Christian McCaffrey looked like Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey with an hour's training session and reading the playbook on the flight over was pretty incredible. I do think, however, like with running back, like no offense to running backs, like you're amazing, physically gifted, and Christian McCaffrey is also one of the most intelligent running backs out there, but just running the hole, especially in the 49ers run game. And he had people telling him how to play. But I agree with you. They should have fed him the ball more in that game. And we'll talk about it on the pregame show this evening, that 49ers Chiefs game. But he was averaging 10 yards a rush to start off the game. And then they stopped feeding him the ball later on because they got behind. But he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well.
Well, they get behind. And I won't get too deep into it. We'll get into it later. But they get behind because everything's predicated off the running game in San Francisco. And when they get behind 14 points, it throws things out. But here's a little neat tidbit. So growing up, do you know who Kyle Shanahan's favorite football player was as a child?
Well, I'm going to say that it's Christian McCaffrey's father who played wide receiver for his dad in Denver.
Ed McCaffrey. Yes, sir. Yeah, that was his favorite player growing up. And now and in the scheme of any other team, I'd be like, great trade. In the scheme of the 49ers, I'm like, yeah, you gave up a lot because you don't have a lot, but that's a whole different ball game. And if you're in a win now mode, then go ahead. But I don't know what they're going to do to fill holes on aging players moving forward.
I feel like you sit with that and you think the 49ers can scheme any running back to get 100-yard games if they want to, like the way that they play. But Christian McCaffrey is just this different animal, this totally different weapon. And I look at it in terms of drafts rather than how many picks you mortgage. So they've mortgaged this next draft that's gone. So that this next draft, they don't really have anybody. They can fill in some depth at corner and places like that. So they've mortgaged this draft. This draft has now gone for Christian McCaffrey. That's it. After this, what did they give up in 2023? Was it a first and a third as well? Or just a fourth?
So they gave up a second and a third this year. Oh, a second, a third, and a fifth this year, and a fourth. Yeah.
Like that. So... And they've not given up that as much in 2023, so they can fill those holes out in 2023. What I worry about for Christian McCaffrey is this 49ers medical team doesn't seem to be able to keep anybody healthy. So that'll be interesting to see.
I actually seen some things online that people in San Francisco really want them to fire their whole strength and conditioning team.
I'm sick of the 49ers getting a free pass as unlucky because of their medical issues. Like, there's a point where you're either poor at evaluating people coming out of the draft because if they have medical problems and your medical team should be fired for that, or you're poor at keeping people strong during those medical teams. So I worry about Christian McCaffrey for that. But with that, I'm sure Christian McCaffrey will do his best to keep himself healthy. And I'm sure that it's going to be a great fit all the way through the all the way through the year, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry about that, you guys. I just didn't need you watching me trying to find my power cord. My laptop getting low. Yeah, I think I think right off the bat, and I love McCaffrey, and I think he'll fit in, and if he can stay healthy, is a great addition. There's teams I'm really curious to see what happens 5 years from now, right?
Yeah.
because reports are the two teams that were the biggest in the mix for McCaffrey were the 49ers and the Rams didn't have enough ammo to get him.
Yeah, and I mean, the 49ers also make a play in terms of, holy shit, we don't want McCaffrey with Sean McVay in our division. So that's why they also go out there. I don't love that as a move, but you can see why it would be on that edge. But the Rams run game isn't Cam Eckler's fault.
No, and that's what I was going to say. It's going to be worse for the Rams because the 49ers have a really good offensive line. Yeah. They do a great job in the zone blocking schemes, and that Shanahan made those famous, his dad. So it's going to be easier for them in the draft to pick up receivers and linebackers late and corners. You don't find starting linemen in free agency. It just does not happen. Like, starting offensive linemen do not hit the market. You know what I mean? And so the Rams are in a lot more trouble in future than I see the 49ers by mortgaging all that. The only thing I will say is with the Rams, it paid off. You got that ring.
Yeah.
So if the 49ers get that ring, then it was 100% worth it. But the Rams are going to have some bleak days with dying quarterbacks because I don't know how they're going to bring in more offensive linemen.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams have basically said, for that championship, we can fuck ourselves for the next 5 years. And then all their offensive linemen retired as soon as they got that Super Bowl. So it was just like, well,
what was Whitworth? He's in his 40s, so you knew he was gone.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I blame Whitworth, but like It was just like, shit. Yeah. All at once. I do really like this trade for the 49ers. You know, I'm a kind of guy where it's just like picks over lottery picks. But with the 49ers, their issue is they don't have enough depth to make up with their seeming deficiencies on keeping guys healthy. So that's where they need their draft picks to go. And they have enough draft picks to do that. The 49ers, they don't see anybody in the first or second round for the next 2 years that's going to be good enough to penetrate their roster. Their roster is one of the best in the league. I'm kind of thinking the 49ers are kind of crazy. The amount of love that the 49ers get with their records is pretty wild, I think.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of trading away your future. And I know they have fucked those picks and it worked for the Rams. You don't see other teams that it's really worked for. I mean, I've watched Washington 3 times in my lifetime try to buy a Super Bowl. I watched the Eagles with their so-called dream team. And I don't know. It doesn't usually work out. And with the Rams, at least when they traded him away, they went and got the best player at that position at that moment. Like, Jalen Ramsey was the top corner in the NFL when they traded for him. You know what I mean? These are things the Rams did. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of it worked for the Rams. I don't think it's going to work for the 49ers. And I think at some point they're all going to regret trading away all their picks, especially if within 3 weeks Christian McCaffrey can't play again.
Yeah, I think that'll be the most interesting thing to watch, the injury watch on Christian McCaffrey with this 49ers medical team. Because it's not interesting to watch Christian McCaffrey rush for 100 yards. Like, it's not going to be that interesting. Like in the 49ers offense, it's like, yeah, obviously. Like, obviously, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, he's going to rush for 100 yards a game, in which case, in my opinion, it's worth it. It's whether your medical staff can keep him healthy, and we'll see how that works.
And bringing in Christian McCaffrey makes it so that we're going to find out if Deebo Samuels is a true number 1 receiver. We know what he can do as a utility player. Like, he's amazing. But is he that number 1 receiver?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of Deebo Samuels and Christian McCaffrey both coming out of the backfield.
They will. Like, they'll bring Ayuk out of the backfield, too.
Yeah, how wild is that?
When you got to line up and try to get back into a game.
Yeah, definitely. But it's you can watch them doing all kinds of crazy shit with that. So, like, wildcat to Ayuk with Deebo Samuels and Christian McCaffrey out wide, like all of that kind of stuff. Or just keep Jimmy in there and have those guys motioning around, coming out of the backfield. It's going to be a headache for defensive coordinators. We'll get onto the 49ers a bit more later and my general opinion on them. I still don't understand the media love for them this year. because I don't think they've played that well, but we'll see.
No, but cheers to Kittle and my 21 points.
Yeah, but tight ends bringing it in for both of us this week. I had Pat Fryermuth's 15 winning me the game in the end.
Yeah, I get to play Dustin, who just traded for Andrew, so we'll see how that goes.
That'll be fun.
But I did tell him, I said, bad week to trade because every time Andrews gets 6, I get 4 because I got Lamar. So I was like, so the Bears made a big move that probably makes you really happy and are by trading away to the Eagles. So that probably made you really happy. How you feeling about your trade partners there? Because that's in your division. And
I just don't think we would have given away Robert Quinn. I just don't think we would have given away Robert Quinn if we knew he was going to be an Eagle with the Eagles undefeated 3 years later. That's just fucking bullshit. Like, it's cheating. It's cheating. No, it's a great trade by the Eagles. It makes sense for the Bears as well. The Bears are in a weird position where it's like, hey man,
tap the wrong button.
The Bears are in a weird position where they kind of are in a position to say they've just blown out the New England Patriots, but nobody thinks they're a good team. So blowing this shit up, the same as the Panthers. They're getting those picks for the Panthers, by the way. We forgot to mention the Panthers. That's actually really good business for them as well. Blow that shit up. So I'm not sure what Robert Quinn went over to the Eagles for. We haven't had a chance to look it up yet. But yeah, he's going to be a pain in the arse in the division when we come to play them next year. Because the one thing we got going for us against the Eagles is Zeke looked good, Tony Pollard looked good, and then all of a fucking sudden they pick up Robert Quinn to stuff the run in the D tackle.
I just saw it earlier too, and it wasn't really that much.
No. It also came the day after we picked up somebody who I think was a really good pick in Hankins. Like, I really like Hankins as the anchor of our defensive line. Like, but he's not fucking Robert Quinn. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So we're all sat there, Cowboys Nation. I was about to come on and make a video about it and be like, yeah, Hankins, love that pick. That's a great pick. Anchors the defensive line. He's a good run stuffer. He's not going to offer us much more, but we don't need anything more. Like, our defensive line doesn't need much more than that. And then I look over. You've texted me. Robert Quinn is a Philadelphia Eagle, and Robert Quinn can. I can attest to this. When he was a Cowboy, he could stuff the run and get sacks, and that's just evil.
Well, shout out Shug. We're going to make your day a little better, hopefully. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this, but what I'm reading right now, it looks like they gave up a second-round draft pick for him.
Oh. I don't know. That seems like a lot, but...
Yeah, okay, and I'm the guy who just defended draft pick. But the Eagles got a real shot this year. And if you think that he can get you over for a second-round pick, then you go for it. My argument with the other teams is they've given up so many of their picks. Like, we'll get to it in a minute, but there's some other teams talking about making some trades in this offseason, which, depending what you give up, then it's worth it. So my question is, do you get somebody of Robert Quinn's caliber next year for a second-round pick? No. If he does not destroy your cap and helps you win more games, okay. But we both know the Eagles are in a win right now mode.
And they should be, because they're not an undefeated team where it's like the Pittsburgh Steelers, where they were 11-0, the worst 11-0 team of all time. It's not like that. They definitely can win this all. And if they can stop the run even more and more and more, then that's going to be impressive. It's also important to remember that the Eagles have got the New Orleans Saints first-round pick this year. So, and then do they keep on to their whole pick? Yeah. So the Eagles have got 2 picks in the first round this year, so giving away your second. And one of them is going to be between the 32nd and the 25th at worst. At best, sorry. So they've got the New Orleans Saints pick, which is currently the 4th pick in the NFL draft, and then they've got one which is going to be between probably 32 and 25.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 first-round picks. So missing out on that second-round pick isn't that big of a deal. It's a great pickup for them, and I'm pissed off about it.
Jalen Hurts, or the Eagles go as far as Jalen Hurts' health takes them. They keep him healthy, they will be fine. If he gets hurt, I think that's a whole different team, but that happens with most teams.
Yeah, and what they were able to do with Micah Parsons in that game, where they were able to isolate him on the edge 2-on-1, like that was impressive with Jalen Hurts too.
I know. He's amazing. He's one of the top linebackers, and you stopped him with a pulled groin. I'm not as impressed. I want to see it the second time around.
I'm not as impressed, but the fact that they were able to do that with Jalen Hurts was impressive. Like, if they didn't have Jalen Hurts at QB, they wouldn't be able to do that.
Right. I'm just saying, does that happen next time they play if Micah Parsons is 100% healthy? I don't know.
I don't know. Hopefully we'll see.
Well, you will see unless somebody gets hurt. So, who you think is the next player to get moved?
Well, there's a lot of talk about Alexander Mattison and people like Damian Harris, and then you've got info on Brandon Cooks, and then obviously OBJ's just sat there. OBJ won't go until the transfer deadline eve. He won't go until the last day of the transfer deadline. He'll go on the 1st of November.
Well, no, OBJ can go whenever he wants because he's a free agent.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry.
He can sign the day before the Super Bowl if he wants.
Yeah, sorry. My apologies. I forgot. I keep on forgetting that the Rams don't have him. Like,
right.
That for some strange reason, the Rams haven't committed him to. Yeah. Anyway, it's just strange. It just blows my mind. But that even like, how much do you reckon OBJ would have taken after that Super Bowl, after blowing his ACL out, like showing him the love? 10 million. Maybe the Rams don't have it.
Well, I do know that reports came out that this was from OBJ's camp, that he's looking for a 1-year prove-it deal so he can get paid again next year on a long-term deal, and he's only wants to sign with a contender, which absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I would want to do. He's got his 1 ring now, but he busted his leg during that 1 ring. He was going to be the MVP of that game. He was going to be the NFL Super Bowl MVP of that game if he stayed healthy. So I can see him wanting to go out and prove it again because it's proved everybody wrong. That was starting to doubt OBJ, wasn't it? Everybody was like, oh, he's this Hollywood guy, like just makes these big plays, doesn't actually do anything. But I appreciate him.
I got to call bullshit, too, on a guy we both like, Chris Sims.
Yeah.
He keeps saying, oh, yeah, OBJ, and I don't have any inside information, but he's going to go to the Packers. The Packers are going to lose 5, could have a chance of losing 5 games in a row if you look at their fucking schedule. They play the fucking Bills. Like, at what point, if you're OBJ, are you like, yeah, that team is rocking, they're a contender, let me go there. And I love my city. I do. I love Green Bay. I think it's an amazing city. If you want to live in a small city and have everything the big cities have without all the craziness, it's a great place. If you're a young guy, though, and you're a millionaire, Green Bay's not really that appealing.
Yeah. You're a young guy who first lived in New York and now lives in LA. Like, there's not many cities that can contend with that. Like,
no,
so
Chicago, you know what I mean? There's a few.
Like that. Like Dallas, I guess, like, you know.
Well, and I know Minneapolis is an amazing city, but to live there in the winter, it's even colder than where I live. Okay.
Oh, you will live there. I know that.
And I know the only reason Minnesota's in the mix right now for OBJ is because, one, their record, but most importantly, OBJ would not have to learn a new offense because that was his offensive coordinator in LA.
Yeah, and they're contenders. Like,
well, I said that. Yeah, I said contenders, and
yes.
But yeah.
Plus, they play inside. So that freezing cold weather, he doesn't actually have to touch it.
I didn't call it. I actually reframed that. I didn't call them contenders because I said because of their record. Because as a Vikings fan, I'm always worried, and I know it's a new regime, but I'm always worried the bottom's going to fall out.
Yeah, just with the way that the NFC is, if you have that good of a record in the NFC, that makes you a contender just because of the way that that's shaping out. Like, there's teams in the AFC with a half decent record where you're just like the Chiefs and Bills are way better than you. So like, there's only the Eagles in the NFC that you say are miles ahead of everybody else. Everybody else is kind of on the same wavelength.
Correct me
But
if
I think
I'm.
OBJ. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I cut you off. Sorry, I thought you were done.
I think OBJ comes into any team and makes them better. I think the Vikings make a lot of sense to me.
Hey, I just thought about this. That
Yeah.
LSU connection. Justin Jefferson and OBJ are close. I forgot about that. They're tight. They're little brother, big brother. They call each other.
Yeah, I mean, another destination that I thought would be fun, but isn't on the cards is the Bengals. Because didn't Joe Burrow get into some trouble from taking like a gift from OBJ while he was at LSU?
Yeah, that was
Him and Jamar Chase.
It was Burrow. It was Jefferson. All of
Yeah.
them. So they didn't get in trouble because OBJ said it was fake money.
Bullshit.
Now it's not even a problem because of the NIL deal and shit like that. And it shouldn't have been a problem then. But OBJ should not have been on the field with a stack of hundreds. He should have been in the locker room.
Yeah,
with
definitely.
A stack of hundreds.
That's what I love about. I kind of love that about OBJ. Though. I would love to see OBJ as a Cowboy. I just think he'd really fucking suit us.
They can shit on OBJ all they want for all the shit they shit on him for. But let's be real about something, okay? Let's compare him to, like, we don't even have to say the names, but compare him to other situations we've seen. Has OBJ ever been called a bad teammate? Because I haven't heard it.
No.
Has he ever been arrested?
Don't know.
No, not that. Like, so what is the shit OBJ gets in trouble for being cocky, for being flashy? Like, and then they are like, oh, he was on a boat on their bye week before the playoffs with his team party. Yeah, it's called relaxing. It's the same thing. You'll remember this. Remember when Tony Romo and Witten got all that shit for going to Cabo? They're relaxing, you fucking morons. They don't live football 24/7.
Yeah, that's what fucking millionaires can do. Like,
yes.
So our version of relaxing is sitting down, watching the football, chilling out, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, their version, ordering some delivery.
But are you saying you wouldn't go chill out, relax, watch the football in fucking Cabo if you could afford to? How far's the plane to Cabo from Texas? Like 2 hours, 3 hours?
I don't know, but they had 10 days off and they went for 4. What's the problem? Yeah. OBJ and them were on a bye week and they spent 1 day on a cruise boat partying as teammates too. It's not like OBJ was with fucking, I don't know, Elon Musk and fucking those guys on a boat. He was with his teammates. Like, this guy gets beat up for ridiculous shit. And everything I've heard, Baker and OBJ are actually friends. It was OBJ's dad who couldn't stand them playing together.
Yeah, and he gets in the same sort of trouble that a guy from another sport, so F1, Lewis Hamilton gets. But Lewis Hamilton gets it because one, he's the only black driver, and 2, it's a totally much more like regimented sport. But like Lewis Hamilton gets this thing where they get like a summer break in F1 and they get a winter break in F1 and stuff like that. And he goes and parties with Will Smith like during the thing. Like, he's got celebrity friends. Like, yeah, because he's a fucking nice and cool dude. Like, he's never done anything wrong to anybody. So he's got so many fucking friends. I think OBJ would be a great pickup for anybody. I'd like to see him at either of our teams personally. I genuinely think that the Cowboys aren't as talented offensively as people think they are, and we'll move on to this in another show. But OBJ and that talent that would make that fit better.
Do you know what's killing me now? It just dawned on me, and now I'm getting my hopes up. Another connection for the Vikings and OBJ is him and Pat P are real close. Patrick Peterson, LSU guys, big brother, little brother in the reverse, they call each other. There's that real LSU connection, and Daniil Hunter, LSU. Like, I'm just saying, like, now I'm getting more and more excited. Kevin O'Connell, Daniil Hunter, 5-1. But
unless you play purple.
Yeah. So there's only 4 teams in the NFL right now, unless I'm mistaken, that have less than 2 losses. And that's the Bills, the Vikings, the Giants.
Eagles.
Yeah, and then the Eagles are 6-0. Yeah. So there's only 4 teams. And then if you look at, there's a lot of losses. The NFL is really jam packed right now.
Yeah, definitely. So to call, it's interesting where he'll pick to be a contender to, and he doesn't have to do it until week 11, week 12. So,
well, they're saying he's shooting for Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
seems to play. So he wants to sign a couple weeks before. So some people are saying he'll sign in the next week or two. Even if he doesn't sign or play until December, my guess is he signs before Thanksgiving, which you guys don't celebrate, which is the 3rd Thursday in November.
Yeah, I celebrate it because I know that it's NFL Day in the middle of the week.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving.
But you could be like, hey, I'm doing this on Boxing Day, and I'd be like, when the fuck is Boxing Day? I know it's a holiday, but I have no idea when it is.
Day after Christmas.
Oh, see, that's easy, but I did not know that. I didn't know it.
26th of December, yeah. Just your quick thought on one of your favorite running backs, Alexander Mattison. What do you think?
I'm so torn on this. Okay, and it's not because it's not because I like the dude, because I do. I think he's great. And, my podcasting highlight was being able to talk to that dude, But if you're the Vikings, he's leaving you next year because he's starting somewhere. So I understand let's get something in trade for him. And we have a deep backfield. I know people aren't going to know Tyson Chandler, and they're not, or Ty Chandler. They're not going to know the running backs like the Vikings fans do, but we're deep and we're carrying 4. But I also look at our roster and go, he's the only big back we have. Yeah. So I'm not sure we want to trade him unless you come and blow the doors off with like a 2nd-round pick, which nobody's going to do for a running back. Because if we're literally contenders, who do we give the ball on in 2nd and 2 when we need a guy to stick his head in there, get down and power through? I love Delvin Cook, and he'll give you everything he's got. He's not like some pussy who avoids contact, but he's not that dude. So it worries me a little to trade him. I get the idea of why to trade him, but it worries me.
Yeah, and Mattison gives you guys plays every time he steps on the field, it feels like. Every time that Mattison steps on the field, it feels like something happens, is how I would look at Alexander Mattison. Although if somebody comes at you with a 3rd-round pick or a 2nd-round pick, it's difficult to say no.
I don't know what the contract was, so I'd have to look. But as long as let's play the money's right game, right? If the Rams called me and said, we'll give you Cam Akers and a 5th for Madison, I might do it. I might do it.
I would do that.
I don't know where the money fits, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a good trade for you guys. If somebody came in, so say, could you imagine Madison in New England? That'd be exciting. But not with the way that their offense is playing actually at the moment. But you could feel some teams coming on, like the Cardinals, where James Conner's on and off injured all the time, and they play that multiple backs in the backfield. Like if the Cardinals come and offered you a 3rd, that's a yes, snap your hands off.
As long as, and it would never happen, but as long as it's after Sunday, yeah, we'll talk before we play, because he knows that offense way too well. Well, you know what? The Cardinals know that offense too, because they play the Rams twice a year. But
yeah, I think the Cardinals might be all right with working out your offense.
The Bills wouldn't. I've said this since day one. If I'm the Bills, I'm really interested in Alexander Mattison.
Yeah, exactly. The Bills, somebody like that, The way that the Chiefs are playing right now is so. Isaiah Pacheco just started. I got so hyped. So Isaiah Pacheco is on my fantasy team. Everybody, I've been keeping him, holding him there for the past 7 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah, you've been doing with him what I've been doing with OBJ.
Just holding him. Or every now and again, I've dropped him when I know he's not going to be at the top of RB list and nobody's looking for him. So I've dropped him in the hope I can pick him up the next week after. But just had him there. He's been waiting. And then he started last week and only got 10 carries because they were just blowing the doors off the 49ers. So, but somebody like the Chiefs, Alexander Mattison fits in there really well, those kind of teams.
All right. So remind me to touch on the Cowboys running game before we get out of here, because I have a real question for you, but I don't want to switch topics in the middle. So that was a reminder.
Yeah.
Another guy that the Vikings are in the mix for, and from what I read from Jordan Schultze, and if anybody follows Jordan Schultze, great reporter. And if you're wondering why that name sounds familiar, his father invented Starbucks. But he reported that the top two teams right now in the Brandon Cook trade sweepstakes are the Vikings and the Packers. Makes sense for both teams. And if Brandon Cooks gets traded one more time, he sets the record for the player most traded ever in the NFL. And me and you have talked about this before. He's a really good fucking receiver, and he's getting traded.
I feel like so a lot of trades. I think you kind of need the fans' approval on. Like, I think the GMs like dice shit up like all the time, and they're like, "Oh, we could trade this guy," and then they'll go, "Oh shit, well, we could trade this guy," and then they'll go, "Oh shit, the fans will be pissed off if we trade this guy. The fans will be annoyed if we trade this." Brandon Cooks isn't that starlight guy. Like, he's not that. Like,
he's a number one receiver.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But you can barely see him on the pitch. Like, when he start, with number one receivers, like when you look at DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, like even CeeDee Lamb to a certain extent, like you look at those guys, you can pick them out immediately on the field. But Brandon Cooks, you can't find him on the field unless you know his number. Obviously, that's right. But like, you can't pick him out on the field. So I think that GMs would be more happy to like look at our fantasy league this year, like just dicing up moves like every week. Like, I feel like you'd be more than happy to just dice up moves the entire time if you're a GM and really give shit away, as long as your fans are okay with it. And fans seem to be okay with you giving up Brandon Cooks, but they're not okay with you giving up other guys, even though Brandon Cooks is probably just as talented.
Yeah, and if you're Brandon Cooks, you got to feel like, let me out of here. You traded for me, and like a week later, Deshaun Watson said, "I'm never playing for the." And I know it wasn't literally a week, but you get my point. Like, soon after, he's like, "I'm not playing for the Texans anymore," and you're like, "Yeah, motherfucker, I just got here."
And it makes a lot of sense for the Packers. It makes a lot of sense for the Vikings. It will make a lot of sense for a lot of teams, like especially those teams with like juggernaut wide receiver rooms, because the dude, although he's the talent of a number one wide receiver, constant professional, like he doesn't need those mad targets the entire time. So if you put him in the Vikings room, he could potentially be the third receiver on the Vikings, and he would be okay with that. We can still definitely see him getting his numbers.
He can move all over the field, but last year we saw the best spot for Adam Thielen, and he can play anywhere too, is the slot. Like, Adam Thielen in the slot is a fucking monster. So if you could put Thielen in the slot, you got Cook and Jefferson on the outside. I absolutely get it. Like, we just looked at his contract before we came on, and it's less than $1 million for the rest of this year. It's $18 million next year. In the scheme of wide receivers, is dirt cheap. And then the year after, it's only $13 million. So it's almost a steal at that point. So the money's right. But one of the reasons I brought Cook up first is because one of the teams who were in the running for Cook just traded for Kadarius Toney.
Yeah. And I think Kadarius Toney is a huge name move. I think Kadarius Toney is a massive move for the Chiefs. And I think he could be a big loss for the Giants, but he did kind of say I wasn't going to play for the Giants again.
Yeah, and if you're going to go play as a disgruntled wide receiver who feels like your quarterback wasn't good enough, and that's not my shot at Danny Dimes. I take enough on my own. That's not my shot. You feel like your quarterback's not good enough and that the plays aren't going towards you and you should be the number one and all of this. And then all of a sudden your agent calls you and you're like, hey, pack up. You're going to go hang out with Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes. You're like, hell yes, like cha-ching. And I don't know if he'll live up to the hype, but if he does, the Chiefs just got a number one receiver.
Yeah, and in their new system-driven offense that they've got. So, like, before this, obviously, it's Andy Reid. His system's unbelievable. But they were so talented that their systems-driven offense, the system was, we have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Pat Mahomes. Like, that's all the system needed to be. But now they've looked more efficient. Like since they've started, it's been a more efficient move the ball down. Against the 49ers, they were unreal, like looked unstoppable.
Juju put up 24 fantasy points. Juju Smith-Schuster put up 22 fantasy points or 24 or something like that.
And then you put in someone like Kadarius Toney, who's in the same mold as the Deebo Samuels, like that kind of freaky athlete. Like when he first burst onto the scene, he played a great game against the Cowboys that had me tearing my fucking hair out the entire game. Like we beat them in the end, but it shouldn't have been that close. It was only that close because Kadarius Toney's an animal, and I'm happy to see him out of division. To be perfectly honest, because I don't want to see what the way that the Giants are playing right now. I could do without them having a weapon like Kadarius Toney to mess around with as well. But giving him to the Chiefs just seems like a bit of a cheat code for him as a level up, and for their offense. It's going to be exciting to watch that offense take with him there.
Yeah, and I know it's not because of, but it always is a little funny to me is you're the Kansas City, you're like, oh, we just lost the game, and now we signed somebody. One has nothing to do with the other, but it almost looks like they're like, oh, we got to load up because we just got beat. But they've been trying to work this trade for weeks. But, yeah, it's always funny when it falls that way.
Yeah, like they just put the beat down on the 49ers and then,
but they came off that Bills game, beat down the 49ers, and then,
Yeah, so it's just, if it came straight after that Bills loss, you'd be like, oh, shit, they're just, guys, you don't need to take a loss that hard, man. Like, you don't need to take a loss too difficult. It's a conditional 3rd round and 6th round pick that they've given up for Kadarius Toney. So that's
and not at and they brought in a haul. They got a haul for Hill.
Yeah. Honestly, Kadarius Toney is going to be their best wide receiver by the end of next season.
Right. He needs some time, get in there with Pat Mahomes.
He's been injured as well.
Yeah, but I think it was a great pickup. And you saw what I sent Dustin today in the group chat. Yeah. Great fucking pickup. Like, I know for next 2 weeks, this guy ain't going to probably do much, but great fucking pickup for fantasy pushing towards the play.
Yeah, I went on to go pick him up on fantasy as soon as you texted me. I went on, Dustin picked him up 10 minutes earlier. So fuck you.
I went and looked. I don't know if I'd have picked him up. I went to look to see if he was out or free and saw he wasn't.
Yeah. I had a space there. I have a space on my bench for a Kadarius Toney. So I was like, yeah, cool.
Well, I'm eating up bench space with 2 guys named OBJ and Cam Akers, and neither of them really have a team right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fucked. But, yeah, anyway, that's fine. We'll talk about that on the big show later tonight.
My question for you is, how worried are you about Ezekiel Elliott now that the Dallas Tribune reports that they believe it's an MCL tear?
I mean, he played well with it.
That was a PCL last year, but yeah.
Yeah, same. He played all right with it last year. I mean, he'll do the same shit. Like, it'll be the same. It's not like he's been playing explosive plays, but it's just unfortunate that he's come in and, like, I personally would rest him for the next 2 games.
So my question now is, that was another question. Do you now, and I mean, like, make the real switch permanently to Tony Pollard as your number 1 back, your starting back from here on out if you're the Cowboy?
So the way that I've been looking at it is neither of them are starting back. Like, they're both our starting backs if you were to put 2 guys in the backfield. They're just for very different situations. But Tony Pollard needs to take more of the volume if we're going to rest Zeke. I think Zeke is one of the better bell cow running backs in the league to kind of like eat up those plays, and then that defensive line comes on for Tony Pollard. Then when Tony Pollard comes on, that defensive line is tired, and everybody immediately thinks it's going to be a passing play because Tony Pollard's on the pitch, and he's good out the backfield as well. And so I haven't been looking at them as either one starting, but I think Tony Pollard's going to have to take the volume picks. I mean, if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm on the phone to pick up a running back like a Damian Harris from New England or someone like that.
I'm a big Zeke guy. Like, I like Zeke. I've never been the guy to sit on Zeke. And he's an Ohio State guy, which makes me want to hate him even more as a Badger fan. You know what I'm saying? But, like, I respect Zeke's game. I think Tony Pollard's the better back at this point in the career with or without the injury.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends I think it depends on what runs you want to play, but I mean, Tony Pollard's big playability kind of just blows Zeke's out of the water. So Tony Pollard's going to win a game by himself more likely than Zeke will. So if that's the way that you want to run a team, then that's fine. I'm always going to back Zeke. Like, I like Zeke. I genuinely think he was getting prepared to take a huge pay cut as well. I like a lot of noise coming from Zeke is he's ready to take that huge pay cut to re-sign with the Cowboys.
Well, he's going to have to now.
Well, yeah, but like, yeah. So when we're talking about the Cowboys cap space, like that's where that shit's coming from as well. Like Zeke's getting paid a lot less in the next.
Well, if you guys need a running back, give us a call. Alexander Madison, straight up for Micah Parsons. We're cool with that. We know we're getting the short end of it, but we'll do it just to help you guys out.
Yeah, or alternatively, we could just put Micah Parsons at running back because that guy can just do fucking everything. So yeah.
I don't know if he can throw the ball, but he can probably block on the line too. Let's
be fucking real. Micah Parsons can throw that football 60 yards down the field.
Okay, I believe he can chuck the ball. I just meant it like I don't know if he's accurate, but he can probably guard your quarterback if your left guard goes out. Micah Parsons could probably play left guard. That guy is such an athlete.
I think Micah Parsons could be the Cowboys' number one QB.
He'd be better than Justin Fields.
No, not the other night he wasn't.
When you have your greatest game in your career and it's below average.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't know about that. I mean, he did put 33 points up on Bill Belichick. Hey, guys, you can tune in to listen to all of this tonight.
It's 10 p.m. A little over 2 hours. So if you're that's 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 Eastern. See, I had to think about that.
There you go.
That makes it 10 o'clock. Do you guys call it UK time? I don't know what the fuck you guys call it.
Greenwich Mean Time. We're the standard. We're 0 on the clock.
Okay. See, you learn something new every day on this program, not just football.
The time zones are based on a place just outside of London called Greenwich. And you can go visit it, and you can stand on the time, like the 0 time zone in the country, in the world.
Very cool.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm excited to go. I'm excited to preview tonight's game with you. I think this actually might be a little better Thursday night game than we've been getting, so I'm excited.
Yeah. Not that the Saints Cardinals was bad last week.
It's the team sometimes too, right? Like nobody wants to see the fucking Saints anymore. We're like, move on.
Okay.
But I'm excited. I'm excited for this week of football. We get to make some fucking we could talk about last week and some crazy shit that had happened, and maybe we'll talk a little more about the refs. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll see you then, guys.
Yeah, and maybe we'll talk about that interception in that Cowboys game that wasn't an interception that never got reviewed.
Sure.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in a couple hours. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.